state of the district. My name is Marianne Osman. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am the Director of Community Empowerment for Council District 9 and Councilmember Elo-Rivera. I'm really excited to be here in person with you all. It's great to finally be in community in person and to actually get to see faces that we have heard virtually or have come across in different events and opportunities throughout our district. But to all be here in one space is an incredible opportunity that I'm really glad to be present with you at. It's funny because originally we had actually chosen a weekend afternoon to avoid the February cold, but instead we're here inside on a scorching hot day. So I'm glad for all of you for being flexible with us as we come together in our first State of the District. We are so excited today because we know that the first year in office that we have had has been one of triumph and challenge, but more than anything, it's been one of community and collective. And we are so happy to see that many of you who have been doing this work with your neighbors, your families, and really for one another are here today to really honor the work that you have done as community, and for us to be able to honor you and celebrate you as well. The Council President is going to come up and speak in a moment, but first we're going to start with our youth speaker, Precious. I have had the privilege of meeting Precious a few years ago and have been incredibly amazed by who she is. She is a fierce advocate, an incredible artist, and more than anything, just a wonderful soul and being that our district is lucky to have, particularly as a new SDSU student. So without further ado, please help me welcome Precious to the stage.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Hi, my name is Precious Letshaw, and I am studying psychology at San Diego State. I'm really grateful to be here today. Being present here with community and a community space is really valuable to me, and I really recognize the possibilities we hold as people when we come together, and I see the depth in our collective and the power that we're convening today here, and the potential to connect as we gather here today. I just want everyone to leave this space recognizing the work that youth put in and when we stand up for ourselves and the future generations to come. I would like everyone to recognize youth power and what it took in this specific space. And I know how important youth power is as a youth leader. I've been a part of spaces with youth that share the same goals and same ideas as I, and we do everything as a collective, and it maintains a strength that allows us to achieve our goals and our dreams. And I've been doing youth organizing for a while in the community, and youth power is super impactful in our community, and there's a lot of space created for us to do so. And I just would like to speak to any young person here today that we are the future. We are the leaders, and we're going to be the doctors and the teachers of our generation. And we're the ones that's going to be here 50, 60 years from now, and things will change, and what we believe in will be reflected by what our generation's values are, and things will be closer to what we want them to be, as we see the power in our decision making and we know and understand what it takes. And so if we want that change and what we believe in is important, it's important that we start speaking up now as young people. If we want to see what we think is important, it's crucial for us to find ways to do that, as a community. And the better we learn and teach that skill, the more we'll be able to accomplish as a community together. And as a collective, as we communicate, build, and experience quality life based on our needs and our demands. And that each of us have a vision of our life and what we dream for our community 10 years from now or even today. and that we also should know that we have the potential to have everything that we dream of for our community on someone's mind and in someone's budget if we wanted to. You know, it's important because our experiences, anybody in this community's experiences, should be heard. And it shouldn't be stories we tell 20 years from now, 30 years from now, about what if we didn't wait 20 years. It shouldn't be stories about how we wish we would have changed something. It should be the stories about how we fought and called community together to make change happen. And so the beautiful thing is, even if there was something you wish you would have advocated for 20 years from now, or you envisioned for your community, you still can. It's unique because all it really takes is passion for something that you think is important. And one example of that is the skate park right outside. It was a vision that came alive from a youth of, it's a vision that came to reality after a community of youth advocated for it for almost a decade. And this is youth determination, and this is youth empowerment. And this is what happens when young folks fight for their seat at the table and shape our community that we are a part of. I would like to acknowledge any young person in the space that stood up for what was important to them, stood up for themselves, or even spoke when there was noticeably a lack of youth voice or perspective. And young people should be meaningfully and intentionally brought into all decisions that impact us. It shouldn't be a fight to have our needs honored and reflected in the priorities of our city. We are of a different era, and I've heard the saying that every generation brings something different. And I would say proudly that our generation stands up for ourselves. But involving and centering youth should not be a fight. It shouldn't be a demand. So my call to action for every person who supports youth is to remember that there are voices and ideas that we have that are really valuable. And that to take the time to maybe just ask yourself, when talking about inclusion, how are you including us? How are you turning to our wisdom and expertise? When do you trust us? And then possibly ask a young person what they think or care about. And my call to action to any young person in this space is when there's an opportunity to be a leader in this space or share your opinion, embrace those opportunities because it's empowering to voice your needs, your concerns, and your desires. And it can possibly become a useful skill in your life. Think about something that you feel like you lacked in your childhood and that would have been beneficial to have. And if you can, advocate for something that would help the next young person live a happier and healthier life where all of our needs can be met. I really thank you all for joining here today and celebrating our community, being back in person. And I would like to pass it off to Council President Elo-Rivera.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Can we give Precious another round of applause? Great job, Precious. My only disagreement with you is that you are not just our future, you are our present as well, and you demonstrated that as you always do. Good on the volume? Good. All right. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to our first State of the District. This is the District 9 celebration. I am so happy to see you all gathered here today. I'll just I'm gonna pause for a second and look away from the script and say, we thought maybe a dozen folks would show up and look at this room, look around, see who is here to celebrate. It's a wonderful reflection of the District 9 community, and it is making my heart very happy. We're here to talk about some of the great things that happened in our district this year. We're also here to talk about our hopes for the future. And most importantly, we're here to celebrate you, the people of this district, for your hard work, your generosity, and your dedication. You are essential to the success of this district, and it is truly my privilege to represent you. Before we look forward and celebrate, though, let us reflect. 2021 began as a very, very challenging year for many of us. The COVID-19 pandemic took away members of our families, our friends, and great people in our community. So I will ask that you join me in a moment of silence to remember those who we've lost in the past year. Thank you. And thank you to the advancements, and thanks to the advancements in medicine, and the incredible dedication of health professionals, and the vaccine, which many worked so hard to bring to our community, we're now able to begin working together again to accomplish some of the goals that we've set for ourselves. Today, we're gathering at Parque de la Cruz, a park space that has been a crucial focus of District 9 and especially City Heights over the years. The skate park that Precious mentioned earlier is just one example of that. The gym that we're in, the court behind us, and the community center, which is specially outfitted to serve seniors and special needs folks. The variety of options here at Parque de la Cruz are a window into the diverse needs of our community and what we're seeking in all of our recreation spaces. In our first year in office, we continue to value and be reminded of the power of public spaces. In April, we hosted a vaccine site here. I saw many of you here, where some of our community members, our staff, and myself received our first vaccine. And as we return to public spaces for community gatherings and activities, we also recognize the need to expand digital access for our community members. And that's why we worked closely with our city and partners to bring Wi-Fi to this space. We've honored youth, families, and seniors in this space. Public spaces such as parks and libraries are crucial parts of the fabric of our society and are powerful gathering spaces for us in times of both joy and uncertainty. We've hosted our office hours, community events and meetings, and celebrations such as today in neighborhoods throughout our district. And I'm thankful to city staff that have made it possible, especially the Parks and Rec staff who welcome us amongst the other events happening at Parque de la Cruz today. And if we could take a moment to pause and give some big appreciation to that Park and Rec staff. This event was supposed to be outside. They let us move in because of the heat. So let's express our appreciation with a round of applause. They are always doing a lot with too little in terms of resources and time, and this is a great example of them pulling it together and making a very special day for us possible. In my position as council member, my focus is to advocate with and for you. Last year, our budget provided us $100,000 for the District 9 community projects, programs, and services. That may not be much in the context of a multi-billion-dollar budget, but we wanted to make sure that that money made as big of a difference as possible. After hearing input from you and about your needs and priorities, we provided 16 organizations grants of about $5,000 to $10,000 each to serve the community. In 2021, my team and I pushed for high priority projects in the city budget, including installing long promised and even longer requested streetlights and park planning for Sunshine Berardini Field in Ridgeview, and the University Avenue Complete Streets project, which is going to turn one of our most dangerous roads into one that is safe for people young and old. Of course, we know there is much more work to be done. And we face, our neighborhoods have faced underfunding and neglect for years, a lot of that intentional. And we face added challenges of needing to hire enough staff to make some of the needed repairs that need to get done. But we know that this work is far too important to stop when we hit a roadblock. So I won't stop, and our team won't stop working to bring attention to our communities so we can address the backlog of work that you deserve to have done. Part of the return to normalcy was giving people the chance to get back to work. In 2021, my office hosted an opportunity fair, bringing together 30 community partners and employers together with over 100 residents attending. And as a former coach and teacher and forever youth advocate, I also place a great priority on providing opportunities to our young people. That's why I continued with an effort I'd spent years on, creating an Office of Child and Youth Success for the city. And last year, in partnership with advocates and city council colleagues, we made history by funding that office. I can't stress how important that is. That was a clear demonstration from the city in recognizing that in order to create a better today and ensure a bright future for all of us, we must invest in our youth. In addition to creating opportunity for our youth, we must remember that we need to leave a community and a world where it is healthy and safe to live. For us, that started in our neighborhoods. The District 9 team and I have consistently heard that the cleanliness of our community is a high priority, and there is an incredible need for folks to dispose of bulk items. Last year, despite the pandemic, we hosted 15 cleanup events using 61 dumpsters to haul away 273 tons of trash, junk, and debris. And in the first month of 2022 alone, we've continued our commitment to these efforts with 4 more cleanups, filling 14 dumpsters, and removing 120 tons of trash. That's just this year. That's 393 tons since we started in office, removed from our neighborhoods. And that was a collective effort. That's incredible dedication from the members of our team and the community members who made that happen. And it just goes to show that a little bit at a time, one car full at a time, one dumpster at a time, the differences we can make in cleaning up and protecting our neighborhoods. Caring for our environment also means investing in energy efficiency and working toward climate equity. Last year, I presented a resolution conveying the City Council's strong support for the continued growth of affordable rooftop solar, which received unanimous bipartisan support from the Council. This is important because it means that we want to ensure that people can save money while continuing to protect the planet. As chair of the Environment Committee last year, I focused on climate justice because so many of our neighborhoods in San Diego, especially the neighborhoods south of Interstate 8, have been neglected and excluded from funding and exposed to industry without consideration for our health and the health of the environment. But we're changing that. In negotiating our gas and electric franchise, I demanded accelerating $10 million in gas and electric franchise revenue for climate equity projects into the first 5 years of the franchise, instead of 10 years later, as was offered. That's important because our neighborhoods, as we know, have waited long enough, and we're tired of waiting. That money needed to be delivered now, and we got that done. We also attained an extra $2 million in revenue for the Climate Equity Fund, which will again bring more revenue into the neighborhoods that have been most neglected in San Diego. These funds will go towards projects in our communities across District 9 to make our neighborhoods resilient to the effects of climate change and also safer by calming traffic, by cleaning up areas like Choyas Creek, and both of those projects were funded last year. And together with my colleague, Councilmember Raul Campillo, we successfully negotiated a $10 million equity-focused solar expansion program to bring rooftop solar to low and moderate income neighborhoods. These funds are a very good very good start in helping our communities get healthier, safer, and more resilient to the unpredictable challenges of climate change while improving our lives today. One of the biggest highlights last year for District 9 was the designation of Choyas Creek Regional Park. Choyas Creek was the only waterway in the city of San Diego not to be designated a regional park. It's an incredibly important ecological resource that was allowed to be polluted and disrespected simply because the creek runs through the neighborhoods that it does. That was nothing less than environmental racism. The first step was acknowledging that injustice. The next step is righting those wrongs, and we've started to do that. Now that we have this designation, and my city council colleagues and I have passed a parks master plan, open areas will be cleaned up, there will be new parks and trails in many locations, and there will be an improvement in our communities and an even greater sense of pride. Already, the first park ranger assigned to Choyas Creek says he's focused on cleaning up areas with illegal dumping, encampments, and by adding patrols. I want to thank the mayor on his decision, but what I really want to do is recognize the people who've advocated for the regional park for years and never gave up. The Choya's Creek Coalition, Groundwork San Diego, and many others. Thank you for your advocacy. This change is not just a change in name. This change will change the flow of city investments in our community, and I cannot wait to see the benefits. Those were just a few of the highlights from the last year, and I want to take a moment here to thank the members of my team who've worked so hard for you. They always go above and beyond. We talked about a state of the district event, and again, we thought maybe a couple dozen people, but we're always extra, and they always go above and beyond, and we have this instead. And I'm going to take a moment now to embarrass my team and ask that they're sitting to stand up. And we're going to recognize them one by one, because I will tell you folks, they work so hard to ensure that the community has the representation that it deserves. They go above and beyond. It is a tough job sometimes, and they throw their entire heart and soul into it. And I want to make sure that they're appreciated for that. First is Jeffrey Wynn, our policy advisor. Representative for Alvarado Estates, College Area, College View Estates, and El Cerrito. Those of you who are lucky enough to be represented by Jeffrey know how hard he works for the neighborhood. Thank you, Jeffrey, for everything you do. Next up, Ben Mendoza. Ben is our digital communications and engagement director, and is so hard at work that they're not able to stand up and get the recognition they deserve. But Ben represents Azalea Park, Cherokee Point, Choya's Creek Corridor, Fox Canyon, Isle Nair, and Swan Canyon, and could not be any better at the work that they do. Julio Garcia. Julio has deep roots in this community, this neighborhood. It works incredibly hard to ensure that the neighborhood the community is represented, and is now our government affairs manager. I'll also take a moment to introduce the newest member of our team, Francisco Peralta Vargas. So this is Francisco's first day on the job, which I think is this is how we do things, Francisco. Just so you've been warned. And Francisco will be taking over for Julio and representing Talmadge, Galena Park, Fairmont Village, Peralta East and West. Welcome to the family, Francisco. Next up is Brendan Dentino, our committee consultant and director of special projects. Brendan is the one who gets into the weeds on some of our most difficult policy issues, our most technical policy issues, and has been our point person on some of the most important decisions that we've had to make as a council office. Next up is Martha Zapata. Yeah, you all know. Yeah. Martha is Director of Community Outreach, and she's in charge of Mount Hope, Mountain View, Southcrest, Bay Ridge, Fairmont Park, Hollywood Park, and Ridgeview. Martha is absolutely, so I'm going to tell you a story. When Martha applied, Heidi from our team referred to Martha as a very special lady. And it could not have been more accurate. I didn't know everything that meant, but it is true. Martha could not work harder for the neighborhoods that she represents. All that trash that was picked up, the almost 400 tons that was picked up last year, over the past year, is largely because of Martha's work. So let's give her a round of applause. Next, we have Chris Chan, our Director of Council Communications. Chris joined the team in December and has been an incredible asset to our team, and is helping ensure that our communications are even more consistent, even more professional, and we are really, really lucky to have you, Chris. Next, we have Heidi Palmer, Director of Administration. and rep for the council community. Heidi, my schedule alone is wild, and the schedule of our office as a whole is wild. Thank you for keeping that balanced. Thank you for doing that with the community front of mind always. And thank you for taking on the added responsibility of making sure that you're representing your neighborhood, the council neighborhood, that long neglected neighborhood is getting what it deserves. Next, we have Maya Rosas. Director of Transformative Policy. Maya is oftentimes the brains of the operation. She is on a much-deserved vacation right now, but she works so hard to get into the weeds to make sure that we never miss a comma or a period that actually can make the difference in whether or not important funding is received or that the policies that we are intending to support actually do what we want them to do. Next up is Marianne Osman. Marianne was is largely the reason why this, and I say let's do a state of the district, and Marianne puts this together. Marianne could not be more committed to ensuring that community voices are lifted up. That title of Director of Community Empowerment is very intentional. She is not just committed to ensuring that each neighborhood is represented, but ensuring that there's a pipeline of leadership developed in each neighborhood, so that those neighborhoods that have gone without representation for a very long time, or without the attention they deserve, will get that attention no matter who is in office. And finally, our Chief of Staff, Lydia Van Noten. Lydia is the person who keeps me on the rails, more or less, but also ensures that this awesome team gets the guidance that they need to serve you all so well. So I will quickly move on. As some of you know, I was elected City Council President in December by my colleagues. That is truly an honor, and it also is a big responsibility. When I was elected as council member, I said that I was looking to tear down the walls of City Halls to let all of our residents see and understand what's happening. Now, as council president, I have more of an opportunity to do that. An example of this can be seen in how we're approaching the hiring of the city's independent budget analyst. This is a critical position because this is the person that leads a team of people who provides council members and the community an independent opinion on how measures brought to us will affect the city and its communities. One of my first actions as council president was opening this process to the public and allowing San Diego residents to get involved in the process. I'm also working on opening our city council meetings to the public so that people can come to chambers and speak directly with council members while also maintaining an online option. We all need and deserve a city government that is transparent and accessible, and I'm very proud to say that we're making big moves and taking big steps in that direction already. I also want to make sure that you all know that my priority, regardless of being council president, will always be District 9. The coming year will no doubt bring new challenges, but we will be here to help you through those challenges. We'll be here for those weekend neighborhood cleanups where I've had the privilege of meeting so many of you. We'll be here for you in the community forums that we've hosted. We'll be here to celebrate you in community events like this. We'll be here to hear your frustrations, and we'll be here to celebrate our successes. We just submitted our budget priorities to the mayor, calling for funds to be dedicated to our neighborhoods for streetlight repairs, road maintenance, and traffic calming measures to make our communities safer. We're going to need you to advocate with us for that. It is really, really important that you all weigh in and have District 9 heard in the way that I know you can be heard, because we hear from you. But in all seriousness, just the folks in this room, if you weigh in and demand the sort of investments that District 9 deserves in our budget, it will make a difference. We will get more of what we need and we deserve. I'm going to move on now to one of the issues that is most important to San Diegans, and that's housing. I believe that housing is a human right, and that we have a moral imperative to address and prevent homelessness and the many challenges that come with it. So our office is working to find solutions to this difficult problem that affects us all. We're pushing back on the housing crisis and the housing affordability crisis. Just this week, the City Council approved a housing package which will allow for the creation of more homes throughout the city. This will give a generation of people the opportunity to find cheaper rent and live in high opportunity neighborhoods and not be displaced from the neighborhoods that they're committing so much time and effort to. And we will keep working to find more places to build affordable homes so that young people and our seniors can work, live, build wealth, and retire in the city that they love. We must also strengthen our climate resilience so that our communities can be protected against extreme drought, heat, and flooding. We might appreciate the sunshine today. We should also probably recognize that it's not normal to be this hot in February. Throughout our district, we see that underinvestment in our infrastructure has led to flooding and damage to property. My team and I are working to bring that investment that has been long overdue to our district. Last month, I took Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs on a tour of our communities, pointing out potential targets for repairs funded by the federal infrastructure bill that passed in Congress. And I will continue to advocate for funding for our communities to make them healthier and safer. As we make gains in transparency and accessibility in government, and as we receive more investment in our community, and as we begin to tackle the housing crisis, I say the state of our district is rising. I'm hopeful for the future and will continue to work together with you to lift up our communities and our district. Thank you. We're going to move on in a moment, but there was a very, very egregious omission on my part. Brett, stand up. So Brett Rice from our team. Brett has been literally invaluable to our team. We hired a group of folks who had a wide array of experience in many, many fields in different levels of government, but there was only a couple who'd worked in the city before, and Brett was one of those. In those early days in office, Brett he always works hard, but he was the glue to make sure that we had the information that we need, that we understood the processes that were going on, to make sure that District 9 didn't get rolled over in the early days of our tenure. And Brett, big thank you for that. So, with the speech out of the way, let's get to the most important part of this today, and that is recognizing you, the members of our community who are here today and are so worthy of praise, and I'll bring Mary Ann back to do that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. So we're going to take this category by category because there's so much great work happening in District 9. We couldn't help but honor so many of you today. So to start with, we wanted to kick off with our Community Partner of the Year. It's no surprise as we discussed the many, many cleanups that we were able to put together with our neighbors and our partners, that we wanted to give the kudos to EDCO, who worked with us by providing so many free dumpsters so that our neighbors are able to get rid of the trash that they've had. So if you could all give it up for EDCO, for our Community Partner of the Year. So the next category is our Volunteers of the Year. Whether we're doing cleanups, or we're hosting events, doing meetings, canvassing our fellow neighbors, and just working with so many individuals across our district, none of it would be possible without the incredible volunteers that we have in our District 9. So we wanted to make sure we honored as many volunteers as really were supporting us, and as such, we have a list of folks that we're going to be recognizing, and so I hope you can all give them a warm hand of applause every time they come up. Harold Roberts from our Southwest community. next, we'd like to recognize Judy Harrington and Amy Dyson, co-chairs of the Kensington Fire Safe Council. And now we'll head over to our Rolando community where we want to honor Cara Camden and Sabrina Young. Please come up. Cara will be accepting on behalf of Sabrina as well. So our next awardee is Linda Pennington, who actually couldn't be here today, but anyone who's active in City Heights or our neighboring communities knows Linda really well. So if you could all give a big hand of applause for Linda Pennington. Next, we want to honor Mary Otero and Eric Forbes. Mary couldn't be here today, but Eric will be accepting on behalf of her as well. Thank you both so much for all that you do. Now, this next group of volunteers, they have a whole group just for themselves, is an incredible group of moms right here in City Heights who spend so much of their time doing public health outreach on behalf of their families, our kids, and most importantly, neighbors such as yourself. Thank you for all the great work, and please welcome Comité Organizador de City Heights. Once again, thank you so much for all of our incredible volunteers. There's so many others who couldn't be here today, but we want to thank you for all that you do. We're especially thankful also for many of our businesses who have showed up in so many ways for their neighbors despite trying times as they've tried to stay afloat. And we wanted to make sure that we recognize at least one neighborhood across every little corner of our district. And so without further ado, we wanted to first start off with Ponce's in Kensington. Next up, please welcome Gems Coffee in Talmadge. Please give a big warm hand of applause for Cafeina Cafe right here in City Heights. And now we'll take you to college area, where we want to welcome up IQ Graphics. Come on aboard, y'all. And next, we would like to honor Bow-Legged Barbecue in our Mount Hope community. Bow-Legged wasn't able to be here today, but we wanted to make sure you all were aware of their incredible food. Please check them out if you haven't already. Next up, we are going to recognize Artist of the Year. I think we all agree that art is a crucial portion of our society and our culture, and especially an area that as District 9 we want to make sure continues to be prioritized and invested. And so without further ado, I first will honor Lorraine Khalil, who is unable to be here today, but want to make sure we congratulate her for all that she does with our youth, especially, and for our community. Next, we want to give a big applause to Sake, our artist who is responsible for the beautiful Toronto Park community mural right here in City Heights that displays all the wonderful diversity our community has. Please come up. And of course, no surprise, we wanted to make sure our youth were also honored in today's celebration. First, we want to give a shout out to John Segovia, who's unable to be here today, but is our youth representative on our local planning group right here in City Heights. Please give a round of applause for Next, you've already met her. Please give a warm applause to Precious. Next, we wanted to make sure that Denise Lopez was recognized today as well. Anyone who's active in the transit space, in the community space within City Heights, and is connected to any of our schools knows how phenomenal of a youth leader Denise is. And I see she's already coming right up. Come on up, Denise. No surprise, this group is incredible, and so we wanted to make sure that they definitely were recognized. The Hoover High Cesar Chavez Club. So we are now going to recognize some of our wonderful nonprofits that we're lucky to have in our district. First off, we wanted to give a shout out to CAST, the Community Service Assistant Team, who are still here, I believe. If CAST wants to come up, I know you've already, some of your members have left. Please give a warm hand of applause for CAST. Next up is an organization that is so special to not only our office and our community, but one that we are just incredibly grateful for. The Vietnamese community has long been a community in City Heights that has been empowering, has been beautiful, and has really done all that they can to make sure their voices are heard. And we are especially thankful for Viet Vote, a community partner that has made sure that our outreach efforts to the Vietnamese community is really inclusive of our folks. So thank you. So we're in our last category of the day. It's no surprise that, as we mentioned, there are so many shining gems within our neighborhoods and really across the city as a whole. But we really wanted to recognize heroes that we have seen do incredible work in our first year in office, and we know have been doing this work long before we came around. So we'll first start off with our Northern District area of the Hero of the Year, Melissa Roy Wood, Principal of Franklin Elementary. Thank you for all you do. Next up, we'll take it to our Mid-City heroes. First off is Miriam Rodriguez, one of our crucial promotores right here in City Heights. As the council president mentioned, housing and homelessness is an issue that's especially important for us. And we wanted to give special shout outs to Pete Haggard, a worker for People Assisting Homeless who's been doing phenomenal work for our folks right here in the Mid-City area. Pete, come up. And last but definitely not least, an area of focus that has really been important to us is our Southeastern community. And this community member is someone who has been a fierce advocate for his neighborhood, for his region, and continues to work with not only our office, but really with those around him to make sure that Mount Hope and all of his fellow neighbors are recognized and honored in our city. So please welcome our Southern hero, Pastor Dale Huntington. Can we give another round for all of our awardees? Thank you all so much for all that you do and all that you are. We are so incredibly fortunate that you are District 9 and that we get to represent you. And without further ado, I'll toss it back to the Council President.
Thank you, everyone. As we close out here, I just wanted to take a moment to kind of step back and reflect on what we've seen over the last hour or so. There's a lot of not great things that go on in the world and that we hear about on a pretty regular basis. There's a lot of tension and divisiveness, fingers being pointed in different directions, and a lot of talk about everything that's wrong. And there's still a lot of good, and I need to be reminded of that sometimes, and I think we all do. And this event here today, I think, was a great reminder of all the good things that are still happening out there. We've got folks who are helping the community get vaccinated, people register to vote, folks who are out in the community responding when there's tragedies involving violence, people protecting their neighbors against the threats of fire. Really, really important, good stuff. All done by people who care, with no additional agenda beyond that. And so I just thought it was important to make note of that because sometimes, especially right now, it can be hard to hear about the good stuff. So I hope that you don't forget about all the good stuff when you leave here. You take it with you. You remind your neighbors that here in District 9, which is the most diverse and complex of districts, really representing a cross-section of everything that is good and challenging about San Diego, that there's some really, really good stuff happening here. And that there's good people from all sorts of backgrounds, from around the world, with deep roots in San Diego, who are making those good things happen. So I look forward to celebrating those good things again with you next year. And like I said, don't forget about these good things, because it's important that we hold these in our heart and that we share them with others, because we need the reminders sometimes. And I think after the last couple of years, we all need more reminders of all that is good. So thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you again to my team for putting this together, for the Parks and Rec staff for allowing us to be here. And more than anything, thank you to you, the residents and community members of District 9, for being the awesome, awesome people that you are and for doing all the good that you are doing. Thank you, everyone.